After recently getting my blood panels back, I found the only thing with a more startling lack of diversity than my gut biome is the way that we teach triads on guitar. So today we're talking about two chords, both major chords that go really well together, D major and G major. And talk about some like triad adjacent tips that really helps me open up my playing. So first of all, it's pretty funny because it's like, you know, triads may or may not be in the title of this video, I'm not sure. But the first thing we're gonna learn is major 7 chord. Okay, so a triad basically is just a 3-note chord, right? So if we have D major like this, everybody knows that one, right? 2 on the high E string, 3 on the B string, 2 on the D string. We got that, we can do another D major down here. The reason I love the key of D major is because I think having an A string rooted extended chord, like this one right here, this D major 7, 5A, 7D, 6G, 7B, that puts you smack dab in the middle of the guitar fretboard, right? We can do some stuff back here. We can do some stuff up here, right? So I love this as an example for being able to go in 2 different directions. And I specifically like pairing that with the G major chord because, again, G major is a great triad. We could use here, or just open, or kind of come all the way down here. All right, so that's kind of the methodology for why I'm choosing the chords D major and G major. But I really do specifically think turning them into major 7 chords is a great way to kind of go about learning this, right? Because what we can do now is if we have this chord voicing, we can pair it with the 10th fret. So now it's 10, 12, 11, 12. And I think one of the most important parts about learning guitar is being able to take something you learn on one chord and be able to apply them in other chords in context, okay? So what I mean by that is in the key of D, we have 7 notes. D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, and D, okay? Maybe you already know that. You already intrinsically know that. Whether you can actually list those notes and the locations of the notes is a different matter, right? Just like intrinsically I know that I probably should be eating something different than peanut butter banana rice cakes every single day, 3 times a day. But hey, we're all learning here, right? We're learning together. So again, having those 3 notes, D, F sharp, and A, of those 7 total notes will give you a D major chord, okay? Now, any of those single notes can become their own chords, right? The 1 chord in the key of D is D major. The 2 chord, E minor. 3 chord, F sharp major. 4 chord, G major. 5 chord, A major. 6 chord, B minor. 7 chord, C sharp minor. 7 flat 5. And then back to D. Okay, so that's why I don't want to, you know, we could go on and on. We could talk for hours and hours about all the cool stuff that you could do in the key of D major, apply to different keys. I want to focus specifically on the 1 and the 4 chord. D is 1, 2, 3, 4 is G, G is 4, right? So the 1 and the 4 chord are both going to become major 7 chords, all right? So that's why this shape works here and also here. All right, now what I want to do is I want to be able to connect this area of the guitar to this area of the guitar, okay? Now what's special about this spot right here, where I have the G major 7 chord, is if I just go like this, if I keep my middle finger exactly where it is on this major 7 chord, which is the 11th fret of the G string, and then just lay my pointer finger down, we have a D major triad, okay? So, you've probably seen this, like on a G. This is, I think, this is like the ultimate triad shape. When I think of a triad, I think of actually this shape first, right? So D, G, D major 7, G major 7. So you'll see these are very connected in an interesting way, right? And especially when you're doing something in the key of D, like we're doing. Ending there has a nice little resolution, has a nice little bow on it. And it sounds great on this PRS SE guitar. This is the NF53. I did an unboxing demo of this video. Sweetwater sent it over. So really in love with this. I think it sounds great. The price is right. I think it probably is the best sub $1,000 guitar that you'll find nowadays. So yeah, anything you get from Sweetwater, please use my affiliate link. It really helps me out. Shows me you're watching the videos. And this is awesome. So get yourself a PRS SE. I love it. So yeah, so G to D, D to G. Now, Now, what I was saying before is like, I want to get from this in a smooth way to get to this area of the neck. So how am I going to do this? A couple different ways to do it. My favorite way to do it is to arpeggiate using that little lick, arpeggio, however you want to look at it. Again, kind of just, different names for the same thing, just flying through. There's a root note, D, E, F sharp, right? So you may have played it like that before in a major scale context. D, E, F sharp. That gets me, I can really just take this and jump all the way to that arpeggio right there. It's like just going from a root note and its major third already is shifting me into position for the other stuff. In fact, you could just use this, not even as like an arpeggio, you could use it as a way to walk from D to G. Right there, I'm just adding the octave. So you can kind of see how that works, just like by moving through the major scale. But when you use it as an arpeggio, it has more of like a fluid movement to it. Again, an arpeggio is just where you take a chord and play it one note at a time, right? So 5, 7, 9 to 7 on the D string. That's basically spelling out my D, F sharp, A. There's my triad, right? Bum, bum, bum. I like playing that second note in there instead of just skipping to the 1, 3, 5. 1, 3, 5 triad. Repeat the same thing. And then all of a sudden, that gets us into that next shifted spot, right? So D major, like that. I feel like that's a very elegant way to get from a D major all the way down to a G major 7, all right? And again, so we're really kind of combining like a lot of cool different things. We're doing an extended chord, we're running an arpeggio into a triad, and then that kind of folds down into another extended chord. And again, that's what I love about specifically this 4 chord, major 7 to 1, is you can pivot on your middle finger, right? There it is. That's why I like this. Aside from just, there's a reason I turn everything into major 7 chord, guys. It's not that I'm just like such a simp that everything has to be a major 7 chord. There's a method to it. Right there. Look at that. Just pivot. 4 chord. 1 chord, right? You can even get the full chord if you want. 1 chord to 4 chord. That's a nice little move right there. You can kind of keep the bar intact if you want to go a little further. Again, side quest, bar chord side quest. And then just shift your ring finger down a string and your pinky down to the B string. And now you go from the 1 chord as a full E string rooted bar chord to the 4 chord as an A string rooted bar chord. And like if you look at my fingers, I'm getting totally different chord, but it doesn't really look like I'm doing that much, right? I'm on the neck pickup right now of these narrow field pickups. Let's switch to the middle for the rest of the lesson. Ooh. D. So that's kind of a cool little 2 chord move that you could do. Now the next thing I really want to stress is taking single note lines. Like right now we've done a little bit of a single note line thing with that right there, but there are 2 distinctions I want to get to, and that's one of them using the relative minor. We're going over a lot of information in this, so check out the Patreon if you want more detailed, specific breakdowns of each part of this, but the relative minor in any key, or in any chord, really, is just 3 frets back. So the relative minor of D major is B minor. Now why is that important? Well, because you've probably learned the minor pentatonic scale, right, like this. Starting on B, 7, 10, 7, 9, 7, 9, 7, 9, 7, 10, 7, 10. Like all the cool guitar licks come from the minor pentatonic shape for the most part, right? And we can always find that by going 3 notes back from the root note of a major chord, all right? So when I do that little run, I end up on a B, okay? So I like to do that just as a way to close that shape, right? So D, F sharp, A, D, F sharp, A, B, D, close it, right? Again, that little note right there has a lot to do with sounding good. Another way you can do that is get to the B on the 7th fret, and then kind of come back out and climb through the minor pentatonic scale. And that's something that I think visually makes a lot of sense to people, because we're starting in this position, and maybe you don't even get that far. Maybe once you kind of start into that little slide, you can just go right up and finish the minor pentatonic shape. D major 7. I was like, all right, I'm gonna maybe try to get down to here. Well, maybe I don't need to go that way. Maybe what I really want, what I'm looking for, is right here. And then it always sounds good to end on the relative major, which is right there, stuck inside that shape. But a more fluid way to kind of continue through the neck is to think of that, be like, all right, well, if 3 frets back from my root note is where that relative minor is, if I have this little move that like ends me up on the relative minor, stands to reason, 3 frets higher than that is where my root tonic note is going to be, right? So if you find yourself there, 3 frets higher, now all of a sudden I'm back home at D. And that's a really interesting way to go from this note all the way to this note. And the great thing about that is the same thing can be applied to the other chord that we talked about, right? G major. You get started this G. Now what's 3 frets back from G? F sharp, F, E. Okay, so there's E. I can even just start with this chord. Now I'm in E minor pentatonic land. And then kind of do my cool little blues licks, whatever, if that's what I want to do. But I just know that it's right there, available to me, or I can kind of continue on. And then now all of a sudden, I'm going with the super, super valuable real estate way up here, which as you kind of go up the neck, this has been my experience. Learning, I remember when I was trying to learn like the higher notes, I would maybe like lose track of where I was once I kind of got past like the 15th fret. All this stuff is like, I don't know, this isn't for me. This is like some Yngwie Malmsteen territory. Well, this is like, all right, well, this is a really accessible way of, all right, maybe if that's kind of like the top of what I've been able to do more than anything, I do know that because of that little run, G, B, D, G, B, D, E, 3 frets higher, there's my tonic note again. There's my root note, G. Just because I'm 3 frets higher from there. So I don't even necessarily know. I don't even know what fret this is. Thank God for these birds here. It's like, this is the fret between the fret before the final bird. 19th fret, 20th fret, 50th fret. Again, once I get past 12 frets, my ability to count is gone. So now I'm really reliant upon these birds. Right there, sandwich in between the highest 2 birds is the highest flying birds. That's all you need to do, because it started from a run here, right? So I could do those back to back individually, and this is something that over just like a regular D to G chord progression, D to G, you could totally replace that with D, all of a sudden, like, you're kind of like exploring that, within the context of using an arpeggio shape, and then kind of just like tacking on intervals to the triads that you began with. And I think that is like a more diverse way of starting with a touch point, G major triad, D major triad, an extended chord that goes into a triad, maybe an extended chord that runs into a scale. And then it's like, okay, once I'm in this scale, I can use that to extend into previously unknown parts of the fretboard. So, anyways, that's all I've got for you today. Hopefully you're able to keep up with all that. That's a lot of information in one lesson, but let me know if there's anything you want me to expand upon. Thank you again to Sweetwater and PRS for sending over this sick purple guitar that I'm doing my best to color coordinate my outfit with at the time. Again, work in progress. We're in the ballpark. That's the best we can do right now. So yeah, let me know if you have any questions, and I'll talk to you next time.